So this is amazing. Thank you all for coming. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Ceena Vang.
Hi, everyone. Oh, my goodness.
Just days after the Atlanta spa shooting, Ceena Vang staged her first rally in Detroit.
However, it is a mix of anger, frustration, sadness mixed with feeling eager, feeling liberated. But truly, the reason why we are here is bittersweet.
The gathering offered a safe space, the safety in numbers. Vang, born here, Troy High School grad, class of 2012.
I don't think that I truly channeled the activist inside me until maybe a year ago when the Black Lives Matter protest had begun.
It sounds like you're not all that comfortable getting out there a lot.
I haven't been comfortable going to most places in a while, but I don't know, I get anxiety. I'm always looking over my shoulder.
We are called whenever we're needed.
Whenever we're needed, downtown and around town. Started with friend Zora Bowens.
My partner Zora and I, Zora.
That's essentially what I'm also fighting for, is so that we don't have to live in fear, because I'm tired of it.
I hate that it had to become so loud and violent for us to speak about it.
When the George Floyd protests started happening, I just felt the weight of the world on me. And not a lot of people asked if I was okay. And so I just felt the need to reach out to my Asian friends, but I reached out to Ceena first. And I was just like, how do you feel about this? Are you okay? And she was like, I'm not okay. And I was like, I want to protest. And she was like, I do too. And I was like, okay, let's go.
The focus of WWN originally was to bridge the gap between the Black and Asian community, because there's a lot of anti-Black hate in the Asian community and anti-Asian hate in the Black community.
Asian people are silent. We're silent. That's why we have this problem.
We didn't think that it was going to be big. We really thought it would be 50 people. So it was really incredible to see that many people come out, and so many Asian people.
My family and I came to the United States because our people were being persecuted because they were helping American soldiers in the Vietnam War.
I'm Hmong American. I'm first generation. My dad came here when he was 2 or 3.
Refugees from Laos, Hmong fought the North Vietnamese, backed by the U.S. Ceena Vang, a direct descendant of a renowned military leader.
He's more of a grandpa figure. His name is General Vang Pao. He was the leader in the Secret War.
Vietnam fell. Many tens of thousands of Hmong fled to Thailand.
I have a lot of older relatives who had siblings who didn't make it because they were killed or their parents had to leave them behind. It's just a really awful and tragic time, but I don't think that a lot of people know that story, and I think it is important.
It took time, but Hmong would come to the U.S., many to Michigan.
We've been living in Detroit since the late 70s. My grandpa worked for Ford as one of his first jobs and slowly worked his way up. My family also has owned a bunch of Asian markets and still own a bunch of Asian restaurants.
Fun fact, Troy is actually one of the most Asian populated cities in Michigan.
This protest in Vang's hometown, looking to activate more Asians where they live.
My grandparents are survivors of COVID-19. Throughout the pandemic, I've only been able to FaceTime them. But tell me how their safety can be guaranteed when they leave their homes.
I feel like I've always had a lot to say, but, being an Asian woman, it's not good to have too much to say. It's better to not say much or say anything. So I struggled, trying to express myself a lot growing up because, family members are always don't talk about things that don't concern you, just mind your own business. And I always felt suppressed for a long time. But I think that because the world is changing at such a rapid rate, you got to keep up with it.
Racism is a mindset and it is a behavior that is learned and taught.
The root of it starts from home.
The rallies organized by Whenever We're Needed invite others to tell their story.
All my life, I have struggled so much, both with being stereotyped and living out of my stereotype.
Young people, older too. Some that remember a murder in the 1980s that galvanized Asian Americans nationwide back then.
So Vincent Chin was a Chinese American that was mistaken for Japanese, and this is the time of xenophobia over the Japanese auto companies, and he was killed in Detroit here. So,
Were you aware of the Vincent Chin story growing up?
You know what? I was not. I actually only heard about it a month ago. My friend was telling me about it, and I was like, how have I never heard of this story in my life?
I mean, this is almost 40 years ago. It feels like we're having the same conversation.
I saw somebody with a sign at that first protest that you ran. You realize that could be me. And it's that sudden boom. It's not that somebody's going to spit at you or yell at you. They might kill you. And that's what I think that realization was with Atlanta. And before that, Vincent Chin.
That was my sign that I was holding. So it's funny that you remembered that sign. I think that's why it hits home for so many of us, because it very well could have been any one of us. Like, we can have these workshops and hold healing spaces, but like at the end of the day, like, how do we really keep ourselves and each other safe?